Lesson 5.3, write equations in point-slope form. How do you write linear equations in point-slope form? Well, first we have to identify what point-slope form is. And point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Now in point-slope form, we have to identify two things. The first thing we identify is the slope, and that's the m. The second thing we identify is a point, and the point is our x1 and our y1. So the first thing we do to write an equation in point-slope form of the line, when you're given the slope of 2 and it passes through the point 4, -3, first thing we do is write out the point-slope form equation. And that's y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So we're given the slope of 2 and the point 4, -3, so we label the point as x1 and y1, and now we substitute the point and the slope into the equation. So we get y minus -3 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 4. Now on the left-hand side, when you subtract a negative, those two negatives become a plus sign. So it becomes y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 4. And we just leave it in that form. So the answer is y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 4. That is an equation in point-slope form. So we have to write an equation in point-slope form of the line that passes through the point -3, 1 and has a slope of 3. Well, our equation, y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. We have the slope of 3 and our point -3, 1, which is x1 and y1. Now we substitute that in, so we have y minus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x minus -3. Now in the second part, where we have x minus -3, when you subtract a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So our final equation is y minus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 3. And that is our equation in point-slope form of the line that passes through -3, 1 and has a slope of 3. Now we have to graph the equation. Y plus 2 equals 2/3 times the quantity x minus 3. Well, we recognize that this equation is written in point-slope form. So that means we can identify the slope and a point. So point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And our slope is the m and our point is the x1 and y1. So looking at this equation, we identify our m as 2/3. So we have a slope of 2/3. Now we have to identify the x and the y. Well, our x1 in this case is 3. X minus x1, and in this case it's x minus 3. So 3 is our x. Our y, well, we identify the y as y minus y1, but this shows y plus 2. So we have to use -2 because y minus -2 is the same as y plus 2. So our y is -2. Now we must label our x and our y axis, and the first thing we do is plot the point that we found. So we have to put 3, -2 on the graph first. So our x is 3, so we go to the right 3 units. Our y is -2, so we go down 2 units and put our first point. From that point we use the slope of 2/3, which is rise over run, to get our remaining points to draw our line. So that means we go up 2 and 3 to the right, we get our second point, and then we go up 2 and 3 to the right to get our third point. We must also put points on the left side of the graph. So from our original point, instead of going up 2 and 3 to the right, we go down 2 and 3 to the left. And we continue to do that until we fill our entire graph with the points. Once we are done putting all the points on the graph, now we must draw a line connecting all those points. Make sure you have arrows on the ends of your line. So that there is the graph of the equation y plus 2 equals 2/3 times the quantity x minus 3. Now we have to graph the equation y minus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 3. So again, we recognize that it's in point-slope form, so we have to identify the slope and one point. Well, the slope is the number in front of the parentheses, so that's 3. Now we have to identify a point. Well, our x1 is -3 and our y is 1. Remember, you always use the opposite sign of what is in front of the number. So since it's plus 3, it's -3, and because it's minus 1, it's positive 1. Now we label our x and y axis, and the first thing we do is plot the point. So x is -3, so we go 3 to the left. Y is 1, so we go 1 unit up. Then we use our slope of 3, which is rise over run, so we write it as 3 over 1. Our rise is 3 and our run is 1, so from that point we go up 3 units and 1 to the right, get our second point. Then we go up 3 units and 1 to the right to get our third point, and so on until we run out of room. Then we must put points on the other part of the graph, so we start at our first point again, and instead of going up 3 and 1 to the right, we go down 3 and 1 to the left. And we continue to do that until we fill our points up all the way to the bottom of the graph. Once we are done drawing the points, now we draw a line connecting all those points, and now we have the graph of our equation y minus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 3. Well, for the next part here, we have to write the equation using point-slope form. So, point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. That means we need to find the slope and locate one point. Well, in this case, we have a line and we have 2 points on that line. So the first thing we're going to do is find the slope. And to find the slope, when you're given 2 points, you have to use the slope formula, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So looking at our points, -2, -2 is our x1, y1, and 1, 3 is our x2, y2. So now we substitute those into the slope formula. So we have 3 minus -2 over 1 minus -2. So that would be 3 plus 2 over 1 plus 2, which equals 5 over 3. So now we have the slope of 5/3, 5 over 3. And now we need a point. Well, we have 2 points on that line that we see, and we can pick either point. It does not matter which one we're going to use, but I am going to use 1, 3. So my x1 and y1 are going to be 1, 3. So now we take that point and we take the slope and substitute it into the formula. So we get y minus 3 equals 5/3 times the quantity x minus 1. And there's our equation written in point-slope form of the line.